All right, welcome to the fourth episode. In this episode, we're going to try to tackle the center support bearing to try to stop that thump, 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 thump that you heard about one video ago. So first thing is I'm starting a little bit early. I'm going to jack up the whole car and put it on jack stands, and then I'm going to try to spray some peppermint oil or something like that to try to get rid of all the spiders that are underneath there, trying something natural. Might hose it down the underneath of the car to try and just evacuate, because when you come out here at night, underneath here, it's just like spider central. And we got black widows here. So I'd like to do that. This is the thing that I've been not excited about the most, is like getting underneath there with all the spiders that have been living underneath there. Yeah, so I'm just gonna tackle that part first. So I'm gonna jack it up as high as it can go, jack up the front as high as it can go, and then we'll see how it goes. All right, got her all jacked up. What's funny is it looks like the rear differential is leaking. And also it looks like the fuel line up front is now leaking. So yeah, definitely probably need to replace the fuel line. We were already gonna do that, but it just seems like it's more mandatory now, especially when your car is leaking fuel and how expensive fuel is, not to mention the safety issue. But so we're gonna maybe come back at night when all the spiders are out so that we can more accurately target them. I believe the bolts are right here for the center support bearing. And then right here, we need to take off these bolts right here and on both sides. And then the drive shaft should fall down right here. And then we should be able to pull it out and see what we're getting into with the center support bearing here. All right, so we're ready to pull out this drive shaft. Thought I'd bring you guys in. So right here are the two bolts right here. Here's the parking brake mechanism. There's the transmission. There's where it plugs in. Looks like some animal started stuffing stuff in here. So that looks fun. And let me see if you guys can hear this. So I'm gonna grab the back part of the drive shaft. So this kind of confirms that this is what we were hearing, because it shouldn't be doing that much. So basically what we should need to do is just unscrew these and then undo it from the back differential, and then theoretically it should just slide out. So we're gonna see how that goes. Oh, even worse now. All right, so we're back on the differential now, and it looks like it has these little tabs that have to be bent out of the way before I can get the nut off. Right there, right there, right there, right there. So I'm gonna bend those out and then unscrew this, and then maybe put the car in neutral so that I can spin this over to get to the other side. But yeah, those nuts look a little bit rounded off, which looks fun. All right, so they're definitely 1/2 inch. Let's see how this goes. Oh, didn't work on that one. Oh, less than ideal. That guy's stripped out. I'm gonna try to get some vice grips on it. If that doesn't work, then we're gonna have to use some heat. And hopefully we can get it that way. But you know, when you get into these old projects, there's always something. All right, so I got some vice grips here. They might be a little bit too big, but we'll see. Spray a little WD on here. All right, get that off. Get this guy off. All right, so we're gonna leave that right there. And then now we're going to try to remove the parking brake and put it in neutral and try to turn this over until the other one's on the other bottom side, so it's a little bit easier. All right, got it in neutral. Now we're just gonna, you can hear the drive shaft flopping around inside the X tube. Just trying to go slow. Now we're just gonna do everything we just already did on the other side. But before I get too crazy with it, I think I'm gonna put a wood clamp between here so these caps and all the little needle bearings stay in there. All right, so here's the wood clamp, and I'm just taking this, and this might like end up taking up some of my working space, but I'd rather have the needle bearings not flying out everywhere. Alrighty, got that one off. That one's seen better days. Alright, let's get these U-bolts out, basically. Alright, that one's out. Let's get the top one out. Alright. So, hoping that we can just slide this forward a little bit. Might be stuck in the transmission, so just like a pry bar right here, hopefully. Let's see if it needs a lot. Oh, nope, got it. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna try to move this clamp over a little bit. Alright, I'm gonna pry a little bit more. Oh. There we are. Alright. Alright, so as far as I'm hoping, we're just going to pull like that. And there probably could be a bunch of junk coming out of there. Oh, yeah, I feel stuff falling on me already. Stuff coming out here. All right, just gonna keep pulling here. Oh yeah. Well, kids, there's your problem. So yeah, that's definitely the issue. So this was probably the part that was just banging around in there. Oh yeah. So I feel like I'd prefer to work on this outside of the car. So I think we're just gonna keep going and keep tugging. Oh, it's nice and heavy for one arm. All right. So this is the part that came out of the transmission. And there we go. She's out. All right, so here is the two-piece drive shaft. Here's what's left of the center support bearing. That was probably part of the that we were hearing. So this drive shaft also can compress in and out, which is nice. Some hot rodders I've heard use this to as their suspension is moving. So here's the pieces that we ordered. I'm not sure if this part number means anything, but it says it's a BS 619. And then here's the ball bearing for the inside of that. It is a X908cc from Green Bearing Company. So I'm just looking to see how to take this apart, and it has a gigantic, and I mean a gigantic nut right here. So, oh cool, my biggest crescent wrench does not fit that. So let me figure out what I got before I come back in. All right, so how we're gonna do this is I put this side in a vise. It's not clamped super tight, but just enough to hold it. And then the biggest thing with the biggest throat opening I have is these channel locks. Actually, I have some bigger stuff that's more like firefighting kind of big tools, big tractor tools, and they were all too big. So like they say before, we've actually surrounded it. We got stuff bigger and smaller. All right, so I'm being very careful as I'm grabbing onto this, and then to not try to strip it out. So backed up. You can see the vise kind of comes up right here, and then I'm just trying to do some sharp movements like that. All right, so this part is now free, and then we're gonna see how this is encapsulated. Also keep note of how the bearing is facing. So the rubber part is on this side, so that's facing the transmission, and the open part of the back of this is facing towards the differential. Just so you guys have the reference when we're putting it back together. All right, so hopefully, yep, there it goes. Just slides right out. Yeah. All right, so now that part's out. Okay, here's this part. And then there's the nut. Yeah, you're not taking that nut off, so this is why it's good not to mess up the this, because this seems like it's going to be a much bigger problem. But now we got to figure out how to get off this bearing, and so it looks like we might need a puller, or we might need to just beat it off. We'll have to see how that goes. It looks like it's pretty caked on there. So yeah, that's how it went on. So I'm going to try a few different methods. I'm going to try tapping it. I'm going to try maybe prying against this other weight right here, which doesn't look like that's going to be easy. Doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of good methods. So I'll bring you back in once I figure out how I'm going to get this off. Make sure there's no retaining clip in here, but I'm just going to bring you back in because I'm probably going to be messing around with this for a while before I can get it off. I'm going to try to do it where I'm not damaging anything. All right, so I dug in there, and just like the new bearing, there was a clip in there. I don't think I needed to take it out, but I was just taking stuff apart. So basically what we're doing now is I got a punch and a big ball peen hammer, and I'm hitting against the solid part of the housing, and just working it around. There it is. So it's off. Here's the retainer, which I believe this part, I don't know if it still needs that part on there, but if you dig in here on the old one, you can see the clip right there that's holding in the bearing. So the bearing feels, I don't know, it doesn't feel good, but it's okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this bearing and just see. Yeah, okay, so it definitely is going to have like a little bit of a press on. In an ideal world, we'd heat this up and somehow cool this down so that this shrinks and this expands, but with the plastic in here, I don't know that I want to hit this with a torch. But all right, so that looks good. So what we're going to have to do now is I took off one of the clips from one of the sides of the bearing, and we're just going to have to press this into the housing, and probably we'll end up doing that on the vise. So I'll find something to support the back of this right here, and then probably a socket or some kind of metal piece up here, get it started, and then press it into, probably it runs into that clip. So I would leave one of the clips in so that you're pressing it into that one clip. So I'll figure out whether it needs this part on. I'm not sure if it does, or if this is, I mean, maybe. I mean, it seems to bypass the clips. I'm not sure if it just keeps dirt out of the bearing. I don't know. All right, let me get all this set up so we can press the bearing in. All right, so I tried a bunch of different sockets on the inside, trying to find just the right diameter. And I found a Snap-on 1 7/8 inch that feels perfect. I knew Snap-on was good for something. So now we're just going to slowly try to press this in here without damaging the bearing, hopefully. So it should be a press fit, but it should slide as well. This would probably be easier because the vise is bolted down, but shade tree working on your car in front of your house stuff. So now I will take it out just to see what we're doing. Bearing still feels fine. Looks like we're going at a tiny bit of an angle. I am lubricating the inside, so it has the greatest ability to slide in without binding, hopefully. Oh, I just felt it straighten up. which is good. Now, we can't get it in the whole way this method, so I'm probably going to have to resort to banging it in. See, we're already bottomed out on that, so as you can tell from the inside, it looks like we got probably 3/8 of an inch to go. So I might set an even bigger socket right here, and then take something that is like this one, the outside diameter, and then slowly but surely just kind of tap it in until it bottoms out. But I'll set that up and bring you back. All right, so I got a giant 2 1/8 socket, which is a good diameter for this right here, since I'm trying to put all the weight right there and not actually on the rubber itself. So I'm putting that right in there. Gives me a lot of leeway. And then I have a 1 13/16 on top right here, but I don't want to bang against the socket directly. So now obviously this would be way better on a hydraulic press. But so I have a sledgehammer. I'm putting that right there, and then I'm taking a ball peen hammer, and then I'm hitting the sledgehammer with the ball peen hammer. Okay, you can see we're getting closer. I would sneak up on this, and then make sure you don't make sure your socket is not so like perfectly the same size that you press that in there too. So you can see now we're past the reliefs for the next clip to actually fit in. All right, so bearings in, and before you do anything else, I want you guys to double check this bearing. I want you to spin it around on your fingers, maybe jam your fingers in there. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to get this onto here, and we need to remember our orientation. And another thing that I saw right here, there's something in the middle of this. So this only bolts on one way, and you can see that there's a bigger gap right there, and it looks like there's a relief for like a key right there. So this only wants to go on one way. So we'll get this all spun around, and I'm probably gonna clean up the threads, get it all nice and tidy, so that this bearing has a better chance of going on. And then here's this other part. Yeah, I guess what we'll do is we'll clean this up and just put that back on, because it looks like it's part of it, because this is the other bearing piece, and these look pretty similar, just age difference. So this must be something to help the not get all rusty or deflect any of the debris that's flying through the center of the frame. I don't know. All right, let me get all this cleaned up, and then I'll bring it back in. All right, so I lubricated it. I have somebody holding it, somebody filming, and now I'm just going to take a socket. So we were focusing the pressure on the outside. Now we're going to focus it on the inside, so we're not causing any due pressure on that bearing. And then I'm just going to go. All right, she's on. There we go. Once again. I hope it makes that sound the whole time. That'll be great. But all right, we're going to then slide this back in and then put the nut back on. All right, so just cleaning off the spine right here. Just making sure all the goop is off. And remember, this thing only wants to go on one way. All right, got it on. Now, what's super exciting is this nut is now encapsulated inside of this. I'm not quite sure how to tighten that. All right, so we'll probably put this end back into the vise, and then we'll take those, try to get those in there as best we can, and just snug it up. Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of funky socket tool Buick would have for this 6 years ago, but that'd be nice to see what it actually was. So it looks like the part that goes into the transmission as well also has a spot where it only goes in one way. So all of that's going to be fun. So this is all done in pretty much reverse order. Maybe it's a little easier now that we've blown out all that stuff. All right. So just got to lift this up. I'm going to shove this in and slowly, but hopefully surely, just keep working it in. Maybe a pro tip is see if we can't keep this on the bottom, because I'm not quite sure once we're right here how we're going to flip that over unless we got some sticks in there or something like that. So yeah, that's going to be fun. Oh, of course, we're caught on something. Why wouldn't we be? Can't even tell where it's at necessarily. Oh, there it goes. Another really good pinching hazard. Use. Oh, cool. Just when you thought we got everything out. Look at that. All right, so the first most critical thing is to get this tail section into the transmission. Now, I could see the mount is still facing down, so that is good. There's all this parking brake stuff that needs to be negotiated. Okay, so this is all the parking brake assembly. You know, after pushing this through the X tube, just make sure it's all nice and cleaned off. So this is only going to want to go on one way. And oh, I did not plan that. It just went right on. So one thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make sure that we do not damage that seal. Realistically, we probably should have changed the seal while we were here, but all right, so we're lubricating it, and now we're just going to very gingerly walk it in, hopefully. All right, so see that? We got it on. All right, we're slowly sliding it in. All right, so that's slid on. Now, let's double check our mount. All right, so I was able to just use the screwdriver and actually spin it around, so that was actually kind of nice. So now I'm just kind of wedging it so that it's relatively in the center. Get both of them started before you start whaling into it. So right here, this is what I was concerned about. See how these come off? That is a bunch of needle bearings in there, and we're trying not to get those off. So now hopefully there's enough play in the drive shaft to go forward. All right. And then this will go back, and then I think we need to, yeah, right there. All right, but before we do this, I'm gonna go to the auto parts store and see if I can't find the replacements for these nuts, and I'll just see what they have. But I'll be right back. So as you can see, it's getting dark out, and searching everywhere for these nuts and bolts. So this is like the retainer that was on there. Went to O'Reilly's. That's not happening. So I'm not sure if that's original to the 61 Buick or not. Also, went to the hardware stores trying to find 5/16 24 nuts. Yeah. So had to go to a specialty bolt place, which is why we're now in the dark. And what I'm doing now is I have a die, and I'm cleaning up the threads on these. So just running a die on there. And of course, you got a die handle, and then that hits that side. So the fun just doesn't stop. But these threads are so, it's not that they're like messed up or anything like that. They're just really dirty. So I'm just running this on there to make sure the threads are all nice and clean. So I'm not going to have this whatever weird washer thing is. So I'm just going to run some blue Loctite on them. But I'm going to finish this out and then I'll pick you back up underneath the car. All right, so I'm going to put them on. So got some blue Loctite that we're going to get everything all tightened down with. Oh, no. That cap came off. Go back on easy peasy. Easy peasy. Okay, good. That was a little stressful. All right. Just got to make sure you get all the little shelves and everything nice and lined up. Okay, now I'm going to take the Loctite. Well, you know, if you got enough on there, if it's dripping. That's usually a good sign. All right, so we're going to spin this around. All right, she's all done. Got it all looking nice. So they have Loctite on them, so I'm gonna have to wait for that to cure up. Back differential looks a little bit moist. We'll have to check the fluid level on that, but I wanted you guys to see what the bottom of the Buick actually looks like. So in the back here, it looks like there's some helper springs on the shocks. Those are the shocks right there. So the way this car was floating, we're definitely going to need some new shocks. And then just to add to the fun, they put some helper springs on those. So that should be fun. Ideally, I'd probably like to put an air ride system on here, but it's a bit pricey. So there's down the, let me see if I can get you guys better. There's down the shaft right there. Everything's looking pretty good. The floor pans, I think, look pretty nice. They got like a thick layer of undercoating on them. So here's the main fuel line right there. This is the hard line going all the way back. I'm not sure if you guys can tell right there. It looks like the fuel line after the hard line right here. So the hard line goes into the flexible line into the gas tank. It looks like that was replaced. It also looks like the soft brake lines right here to the differential and to the wheel cylinders looks like they were replaced as well. So that's good. Less work for me. But I don't see any rot in the floor pans, so that's actually pretty nice. So I think that this is probably some of the worst rot that I've seen right there. But it's on the inside and it doesn't look that bad. So we should be able to put a nice little patch right there. But so the fuel line, if you can see right there, so it comes from the hard line, goes into the soft line. That soft line has undercoating on it, so it looks original. So that's pretty exciting. So obviously it's dark now. So this is going to have to be next week's project. And here's the exhaust. So I would like to change out the exhaust to a full dual exhaust. And since this is, I believe, a GM B body, I'm wondering if it's interchangeable with the Chevy. So we might be able to get like a universal kit for this and just kind of bolt it together. So if anybody knows anything about that, that'd be sweet. Let me know like what exhausts are interchangeable with this. You know, is it Impala or Malibu, something? I don't know. We'll see. But so this is finally changed out and I'm pretty excited about that. Whole bottom of the car, and it's just covered in grease and grime. Yeah, this looks like one of the worst parts of rust right there, but I'm pretty sure that we should be able to fix that. Maybe it'd be easier to fix it once we take off the fender to prep it for paint, which I'm assuming we're gonna do one day. One day, we'll figure that out. But the floor pans, man, floor pans actually look pretty nice. Other than all the spider eggs, they look pretty nice. So, but yeah, up there, it has developed a fuel leak again. I think we need to fish out this hose that goes all the way up there. Just fish it out, and we'll put in a new line, whether we're able to go the same route that this one's going, because it seems like there's like a hard 90 right there. I don't know if you can see it. There's like a hard 90. It goes around that beam. But you can see the moon right there. So we are all done for this week. We really appreciate you guys watching. We'd also appreciate you guys if you would like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the content. Also, let me know down in the comments anything I did wrong, or any tips and tricks that you guys have. But yeah, so this is what it took to change out the center support bearing in this 61 Buick. Probably something similar in the Cadillac and in the Impala. You know, all the vehicles of this generation that had this, it's probably going to be relatively similar. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.